Well, it looks like we're going to start here.
Okay, good talking to you.
Good talking to you. See you soon.
Yeah, man.
Yep. Whoa. You're going to know I'm here. It's a great day. Welcome. I'm President Joyce Montgomery, and we have a year of inspired action. I want to thank Catherine Magnuson and Judy today for entertaining us. That it was Mozart and Bach. I don't have it in my info to know that, but I was told. So thank you very much. Also, I have some updates. Kim Briggs delivered our card to Sally Randers and visited with Jill. And so here's a little message from them. After her surgery in Charlottesville, Sally is at the Korean Rehabilitation Facility located in the building formerly occupied by Community Hospital. Jim, she is receiving excellent care. She is scheduled to come home on October the 27th. So it sounds like things are going well. So yay for Sally. Also, Rupert is turning 92 on Tuesday. And so we are hoping on Wednesday, Rupert will come to our meeting and let us also celebrate Rupert. So watch your emails because there's going to be some more information coming out about Rupert and his 92nd birthday. So keep that in your mind. Now I'm going to read a thank you note from David Lemon. I've had this for a couple of weeks, but David was here and asked me not to read it while he was here. He said he's so emotional that he gets down. So, and it got to me, and that's why I wanted to share it. Because this is what us Kiwanis are so good at doing. A heartfelt thanks to you and members. I reached out to my God bless you. I think that's the very but now I'm going to call section and press.
Good afternoon, everyone. So Preston contacted me 2 days ago and he said, "Oh, I think you're back. Would you like to do the introspection?" And so I said, "Well, I can do it 2 days." So I talked to my wife, who was on her way to a meeting, and she created an introspection. I'm going to give her credit for part of this. My wife, Julie, and I just returned from a trip to Italy and Greece. One of our last stops was on the island of Tinos. It's a fascinating island famous for the marble that is mined and used everywhere throughout the world, really. There are 400 individuals on the island that are craftsmen. We stopped at the Holy Church of the Virgin Mary, a Greek Orthodox church, where many people visit or pilgrimage for the healing of infirmities. The church is more than 4 blocks above the sea, a very steep road up. The street is made up of marble. Along one side is a path that is carpeted. The major date for a pilgrimage is August 15th. Many days you can see people crawling from the sea all the way to the top of the street, and then up another hill to actually come to the church. And thousands of people come and do this during the pilgrimage time. As we left our bus, we looked out, and there were two men who were actually crawling up that street with their faces close to the ground and their hands folded in prayer as they crawled on their pilgrimage. Is inconceivable to me, and yet there are people in the world committed to that. Interestingly, it's a thriving Catholic community. Greek Orthodox is dominant. It's the church of the state in a sense. But in that island, more than 50% are Catholic. Quite a few years ago, the Catholics agreed that marrying a Greek Orthodox is okay. It's a harmonious situation. However, the children of that union have to be raised Catholic. Therefore, there's more than 50% Catholics now. Let us pray. Gracious and loving God, we gather in your presence today, grateful for the opportunity to serve and seek your will together. We thank you for the gift of fellowship and for guiding us as a community of faith. As we begin this meeting, we ask for your wisdom, discernment, and unity. Help us to listen respectfully, speak truthfully, and honor one another. Keep us mindful of those in need so that our actions may extend your compassion beyond these walls. Amen. Please join me in the pledge.
I'd like to call Pegram Johnson to introduce our guest.
Good afternoon. I am pleased to tell you that we have two guests with us at the meeting this afternoon. And I'm going to ask if they would stand when I call their names along with their Kiwanis hosts. And the first one is, and I'm not sure where she's sitting, is Blair Hoke. Where is Blair? Back over here. And her host is Ken Briggs. Blair is with the Salem Red Sox. She's the assistant general manager of the team. And she said that she and Ken are good friends because Ken has brought numerous groups out to meetings or events at the Red Sox over the years. So he's a regular season ticket holder here. So thank you for coming. And Linda Jensen where is Linda Jensen with? She's with Andre. Linda's right over here with Andre Brooks. Linda is the grandmother of our scholarship winner this year. And this is her second or third meeting to come as a guest. And is that an application? Oh, really? Great. Good work, Andre. Thank you.
Well done, Pegram. Yay. We have a new member on the record. Well, we have a treat. We have Jeff Fick to give his autobiography.
Good afternoon. I know for those of you who haven't met me, my name is Jeff Vick. I don't need a lot of prodding to get up and talk about myself. As you know, if you know me pretty well. But I was surprised and honored that Pegram asked me to come up here today and share a little bit about my background with you. So before I start, I think I'm going to give John Montgomery brag bucks because this is probably the most braggadocious thing a member can do is to provide their autobiography. So as I'm a shy and retiring flower and also very unlikely to have a biography written that will ever show in John's outstanding book collection, I'm going to try and probably fail to keep it short. But I'm getting so old that I can barely remember what I've done along the way to being 61. I've fought in a war as a platoon leader. I've taught in public school. The two things lasted about the same amount of time. and teaching was harder. All respect to the teachers here. I've met presidents, ambassadors, secretaries of state, generals, as well as Pakistani hill tribesmen, gauchos, wasos, carpet weavers, subsistence farmers in South America, Nobel and Pulitzer Prize winners, human rights advocates, murderers, jailers, judges, including Supreme Court justices and politicians of all stripes, and lots of lawyers. I considered leaving lawyers out of it, but I wanted to get a cheap laugh as part of this thing. So thank you, lawyers, along the way for keeping me on the right side of the bars in the jails that I had to visit, and they were very instrumental in that. When forced to think about it, and I usually fall asleep when I think, I divide up my life in blocks: education, military, and foreign service. Those are roughly the three parts of my life so far. So I was born in Houston, Texas, at a time when the country was, at least in the South, quite segregated. I can still remember the multiple water fountains and so-called colored seatings, although our parents tried to insulate us from that. My father was an oil company employee with Getty Oil. My mother would eventually become a licensed clinical social worker. My father and his brothers all benefited from the GI Bill, all having served in the military, a family tradition that goes back as far as we can tell to the Revolution. The Vick family landed in Isle of Wight County, Virginia in 1660 and worked the land until the land worked us over, and we fell to the culture of mobility and corporate work in the 20th century. My parents were readers and educated at Texas, University of Texas and Tulane, retrospectively. It was expected my brothers and I would go to college. The oil business had us moving from Houston to New Orleans to Midland and back to New Orleans. My father took on increasing responsibilities in the offshore division of Getty Oil. So I knew what mudloggers, riggers, roughnecks, and land offices were at a young age. My father never let me work the rigs, though, because they were super dangerous. So I attended high school in New Orleans and was an indifferent student, as you might imagine. I was more interested in playing sports, doing music, theater, and something I'd never heard of before, Key Club. Yeah, I was a Key Clubber 40 years ago. And I saw that as an opportunity to go to our sponsoring Kiwanis meetings, which were breakfasts as a liaison. That got me out of first and sometimes second periods each Wednesday and got me into service projects like bar backing cold beers at Jazz Fest and doing other valuable community service projects. That was something that was already strong in my family through the Presbyterian Church and other organizations. One of my earliest memories of that time was my father taping up our windows ahead of a hurricane and then driving off for hours. And then he would come back and he would just be gone. And then he would take us to a shelter in the local area to be safe. I later found out that he'd been passing food around, taping up other people's windows and driving them to the shelter before he came back and took care of his own family. He never talked about it. He just did it. That's the sort of people my parents were. My mother started the first secular hospice in New Orleans to house and provide services to people dying of AIDS, purchasing several adjacent homes in the French Quarter, and raising money with the help of several famous musicians like Aaron Neville of the Neville Brothers. Why? Because it needed to be done, right? It was out there and it needed to be done. I ended up getting a Kiwanis scholarship, and coupled with a music scholarship and a daddy scholarship, I went to Louisiana Tech in Ruston, Louisiana, and studied architecture. As my family had a strong military tradition, I joined the Army in 1984 as a reservist, intending to just train in the summer and carry on with college. However, the world had other ideas, and I found myself on active duty as an interrogator, learning the Polish language and how to do strategic debriefing. A year in Monterey, California, and time in other posts opened a new door for me and tapped deep into my family's tradition of service and my own interest in that process. So I ended up leaving the Army to go back and take ROTC, and I became an officer, continued my education at Texas Tech, and was commissioned as a second lieutenant of engineers and graduated in '89. So this continued the military service portion of my life. And after multiple schools in 1990, I was deployed to Germany and then assigned as a combat engineer platoon leader in the 3rd Armored Division, just in time to be deployed to Saudi Arabia for Operation Desert Seal, Desert Sword. I was with Desert Storm, sorry. I was with 3-5 Cavalry 1st Brigade, Ready First Combat Team, and then movement to contact with the Iraqi Talakana Republican Guards Division, which we crushed. We then settled into occupation of northern Kuwait, and I had the fun of marking the Iraq-Kuwait border multiple times. The sand moves, strangely. So you have to get out there and fix it from time to time, and demolishing Iraq's stock of munitions and weapons that were in the sector when we got there. Blowing stuff up is fun, I'm not going to lie. The first dozen times, then it kind of loses its charm. We redeployed to Germany, and I moved through different assignments in the 1st Armored Division in Friedberg, the former home of Elvis Presley. And yeah, believe it or not, his old barber was still working there. And it may not seem as though I need a whole lot of barber attention. I certainly got the goods from Wolfgang, Elvis's old barber. So I ended up, because I spoke Polish, detailed to the 17th Polish Sapper Battalion in Szczecin, Poland. And I also had the pleasure of working with Belgian and British armies as a liaison. I think you can see where I'm heading with this into the Foreign Service. I'm going to skip a little bit here because I don't have a whole lot of time. But as I rose in the Army, I became a captain. I wanted to be a foreign area officer, which is kind of like a military diplomat. And of course, these are the same people who decided that a fully qualified military Polish language speaking interrogator should be a combat engineer. Told me, no, we don't want you to go be a foreign area officer. We want you to stay an engineer. So I applied to the U.S. Foreign Service, and that started the 3rd part of my life, which is with the State Department. It also begins the married phase of my life. So I married Barbara Longhurst on January 2nd, 1999, then took her away to my first assignment, which was in Warsaw, Poland. Barbara's a librarian who got her graduate degree at Michigan. For you Big Ten types out there, we bleed blue in my house, and was working in the consulting world. She was born in South Africa and lived in Thailand and Paris as a child, so she was open to travel, thank goodness, because I don't think she would have done this otherwise. So yes, finally the U.S. government saw that I might be of use with my Polish language, and for the next 2 years I managed a massive real estate project of buying and renting residences for diplomats at the embassy, moving us all into a more compact geographic area and working on the non-crisis that was Y2K at the time, working with the Polish government to figure out what was going to happen. So we welcomed our first child into the world, the war too, I guess, just weeks before 9/11. And during our Spanish language training, and deployed to Montevideo, Uruguay, the week after those attacks. I was actually near the Pentagon when the plane hit, and I was an Army reservist, and you can imagine the impact that had on my motivation to keep our country secure. So from Uruguay, where I was a political officer, I learned Russian and deployed to St. Petersburg, Russia, as the chief of the consular section, just as Putin was ascending in prominence. A highlight of that time was working on the G7 meeting and President Bush's visit and participation in that at Putinhof, which is a Lush nomenclatura housing complex on the Gulf of Finland. So I would go through a series of other assignments back to Washington, then in Poland, in Krakow, which was where Auschwitz is located. So as the Deputy Consul General in Krakow, I accompanied delegations to the memorial services for the liquidation of the Roma and the Shoah, the Jewish population, marched in the March of Memory and hosted many White House folks that came to participate in these events, and learned how the risks of not having a strong, committed civil society that could go off again, that could offset those things. From Krakow, I went to the National Defense University and then moved with my family to Santiago, Chile, where I was Consul General. I then served in Islamabad, Pakistan, and then over to London, where my family rejoined me there for a 3-year tour. I wrapped up my foreign service in Washington, heading up an office in the Bureau of International Security and Nonproliferation, which are the folks that prevent dangerous weapons from being sent abroad or coming in that we have to license. And as the congressional liaison for my bureau, one of the few department folks to actually have an office on Capitol Hill, which had to have been for my sins, because that was 2 years of flagellation over on Capitol Hill, as you can imagine. So time is short, and I could spend a long time talking about my experiences for your sins, but I'm going to not punish you with that. Here's some highlights. I visited some very bad people in prisons in several countries and helped them return to the United States to serve very long sentences, some of which exceeded 30 years. I helped rescue children who have been kidnapped from their families in the U.S. I helped the war on terror through the identification of threats and coordinating with foreign governments to keep them out of the U.S. I helped rescue Greenpeace activists above the Russian circle above the Arctic Circle in Russia. I helped American citizens whose loved ones were murdered or died in accidents abroad get some closure and return to the United States, the remains of their loved ones. I've sailed the Straits of Magellan with the Navy, trained on glacier warfare in Alaska, and seen the night skies of the Arabian Desert and the Sinai. I've managed and ignited 50-ton explosive shots to disarm an enemy. I called out the Russian ambassador in an open forum for unlawful arming of Ukrainian separatists. I assisted with the covert repatriation of Pakistani American women being forced into marriage back to the United States. I was fortunate to have my family with me the entire time except for a one-year danger-rated tour. So I did none of this alone. I don't want to give you the impression that this was a Jeff Vick show. This was a team effort all the way. I could have done none of that without my colleagues, without the local nationals who supported our efforts, and to whom we all owe a great debt of gratitude that we reward when they complete their service. They can get an immigrant visa to come to the United States and join us as possibly the most valuable immigrants we can ever get. I worked with civil servants and personnel from DOD, Department of Justice, Department of Commerce, and the CIA in doing all these things. We all work together for our prosperity and security. And I've always intended to come back to Kiwanis. I'm grateful to Ken Briggs for accelerating that process and for the welcome that you all have given me in the community and for making Roanoke the kind of place that I wanted to retire to. I've divided my life into periods, but did not mention the final one. I've parlayed my service and background into a faculty position at Roanoke College and also teaching civics for immigrants applying for citizenship. And I'm back to music, singing in several choruses. One thing that was missing that I noted in my travels was a civic involvement in communities. When I participated in Habitat for Humanity in Chile, Poland, and London, and various other volunteer actions, I noticed that many of these countries did not have the same level of civic organizations participation in doing the things that were important for them. In Germany, society organizes to provide services from the state down to the smallest detail. However, almost nowhere else had the volunteer culture we see here in the United States. Maybe the English come closest. But I'm grateful to Kiwanis for providing me with a service springboard to effectively continue to serve as I retire. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jeff. That's very impressive. I feel like I've been on a tour. So thanks again, Jeff. All right, announcements. Lobsters. We're still selling lobsters. On your table, there's a sheet. If you haven't signed up, we still have time to sign up. We have on here now, you can get them cooked or not cooked. So be sure to say which way you would like them. $25 for a lobster. You can't get any better than that. Invite some friends over, buy some lobsters. So sign up. Next, we have the Spooky Sprint, which is going to be this Saturday, 7:45 in the morning. I hear it's going to be a little chilly that morning, but we are ready to put inspired action to work. So all of you signed up. Ruth is looking for us at 7:45 this Saturday. Andre, would you like to come up? And the fun committee meets at 1:45 today. And Andre is going to tell us about the event.
Thank you, Madam President. Thanks to all of you who came Saturday night, Saturday evening. We had a wonderful time at Brew Tavern, Explorer Park. And I will take all the accolades that you'd like to heap on me for that event. And I had plenty that night. It was a beautiful event with drinks in the bar and outside, a lovely, lovely evening weather-wise. And then we had dinner in the private dining room upstairs, all of us together. After that, we went outside again around the fire pits and the picnic tables and had dessert with live music. Lovely evening, but I did not coordinate that. It was the brainchild of my brother, the other Brooks, Kenneth Brooks, Kenny. It was his idea to go to Explorer Park and he coordinated. So I got lots of compliments, but I didn't do it. He did. So hope you will come to our next event. We're looking at something in November, probably a pop-up, but we're meeting today to talk about next year, but also what we might want to do for Christmas this year, because we will not be going to Mill Mountain Theater. We've already had our 2 events there. So if anybody has any ideas, pass them on to a member of the fund committee.
Thank you, Andre. Also, the environmental committee, it's next Wednesday at 1:35 here. All right, we have time for brags. And if you're thinking about brags, today would be the day because Randy Myers has started scheduling our grants. So we will start giving our grants their money next week. So it could get a little tight. So if you want to brag, today's the day. And we got some braggers today. I'll say it later.
Okay, thank you, President Jones. So a brag is what, $2 for 30 seconds? I got a $63 brag. Because I turned 63 last month, so it's $1 a year and going to the foundation.
Well, in the same division, I'm Don Witt, and I've got an $82 brag for my birthday. I also have another brag. I wanted to bring attention to a financial strategies seminar that's going on at Windsor Hills United Methodist Church. It's a means of looking at way you're all givers. So this is a way of learning how to give and have advantages of tax strategies to keep your as much money as you can to yourself. So there's a flyer on the table. Welcome to come. You don't need to reserve. Just show up 10:30 at Windsor Hills. Thank you.
I'm Ken Biggs, and thank you. First of all, thank you for y'all have commented on my new Salem Red Sox shirt. Actually, I'm here to brag on my guest today, Blair Hope, Vice President of the Salem Red Sox. Blair is a very special person. In 2018, she was selected as the minor league executive of the year throughout the minor leagues of baseball. And in 2022, she made a special gift for our community, and she was selected minor league hero of the year in 2022. I think she's considering a membership application, and you will hear more about her later. Thank you.
I don't know if everyone here knows, but I'm the executive director of the Ram House. And I'd like to say that there's a lot of negative feelings about homeless people right now in the city. And because I work with these people every day, it's very painful to me. I acknowledge 100% that we have a problem. And I would like to ask everyone here to pray for our city government, the rescue mission, T-Lot, the Ram House, as we move along with this. And the brag, which I am getting to, is that in the last 2 months, we have increased our capital campaign from $2,500,000 to $2,740,000 and some change. We have worked so hard. I read online the other day that we were opening up a second location and that you follow the money. And it was a sarcastic thing that was written. And everybody's worked so hard, you know, and this isn't an easy problem. And I just ask you, as my fellow Kiwanis, to keep us in your prayers as we move along so that we do the right thing to help get people off streets. Thank you so much.
Trying to get the age before beauty thing, but. So in the honor of counting dollars, suddenly it's a dollar thing. My grandson is 20 and I just donated 20. And Isaiah is a second-year student at the University of Chicago. And he completed the Chicago Marathon a week ago. 3 hours and 44 minutes. His first marathon, and it was a big success. Thank you.
Steve McGraw with 3 brags. 2 of them are for our brother and sister team, Kenny and Andre Brooks, for the event you just talked about at Brew Tavern this past Saturday evening. Andre will not take credit for all that she did, so I'm going to give her credit for the fact that she not only baked a s'mores cake for us to eat outside after our meal, but she also brought hot coffee and served it to everyone. Andre and Kenny, thank you. The other brag came in at the last minute, and it's on Eric Danielson. How many of you received one of these little white things from Eric Danielson? Okay. Betsy, I know you did because you're sitting right next to me. Okay. Eric, I have never been given anything like this before, and I want to brag on you for this. Okay, Eric? Eric, am I interrupting you? Okay, well, I'm going to explain right now. Okay. Eric gave me and a few others an exploding zombie poop. Glow in the dark. Thanks, Eric.
Thank you for all your brags. I want you to know today we took in $282, which, and from year to date, 27 brags, $467 for our foundation. That is fabulous. Thank you, guys. All right, let me call up James Matthews to introduce our program today. Wesley Bell.
Before I introduce the awesome Wesley Bell, I don't know how many people read the paper today, but our speaker 2 weeks ago, Hunters for the Hungry, there was an article about the Bedford Cannery, good old fashioned institution there. There are not many canneries left, but the Virginia Association of Counties gave the Bedford Cannery their annual award for the food outreach that includes the Hunters for the Hungry, the canning of their venison stew, and I guess they also make some applesauce from some surplus apples in the county. So just an example of our quality speaker, our quality speaker today, Wesley Bell, native of Roanoke area, went through the county schools and got his sociology degree up at James Madison, and then some years later, master's degree up at Liberty. He's worked with Department of Social Services for the city and is now with Impact Living. And he is going to talk to us about aging and transitioning out of foster care. Thank you.
Thank you, James. I appreciate that. Good afternoon, everybody. As introduced, I'm Wesley Bell with Impact Living Services. I've been with Impact for right at 10 years. We have been operating in the human services space since 2012. Our organization was founded under the purpose of doing just that, serving our youth that are aging out of the foster care system. Since that time, we have grown astronomically, and in part, we've added other programming, other programs, other pieces to facilitate some of those kids that are aging out of foster care. We added a therapeutic foster care program in 2018. And prior to that, we added a behavioral health component. So we do outpatient counseling, therapy, in-home therapies, mentoring, a wide range of mental health services. We also operate throughout the state of Virginia. We have 8 different offices that are spread out. We cover everywhere in the state except for far southwest, which is hopefully very soon to be on the horizon. So it's a little bit of the history. Again, the reason that this was founded was to serve the youth that are aging out of foster care. That means our 17 to 21-year-old youth. I'm going to throw a lot of statistics out really quick. They are not great. There are 20,000 youth that age out of foster care in the nation each year. That means, and when I say age out, that means no permanency, no foster home, no adoptive family, no permanent connection for them as they enter adulthood. 73% of those youth, only 73%, end up ever getting their high school diploma or a GED. Less than 50% are employed upon their discharge from foster care, and 70% of young women are pregnant by the age of 21. Not great, not great, not what you want to hear, not what you want to see. Impact was started to address some of these issues. So in Virginia, we've got some work to do as well. In Virginia, we have 500 youth that age out of foster care every single year without permanency. No adoptive family, no permanent foster home to reside in, and thus a program like mine, which is independent living. We work with those youth, 17 to 21-year-olds that are aging out. We put them into an apartment. We pay their rent, we pay their bills, we give them grocery money, but we even further beyond that, we give them people. We work with them on a day in and day out basis on things like cooking, cleaning, budgeting, how to get a job, how to get into Virginia Western, how to transition to a 4-year school, how to get a driver's license, how to get your birth certificate. Things that many people likely in this room take for granted, have always had somebody to teach and show and help them through those things. Virginia ranks number 49 out of 50 in the United States as far as youth that are aging out of foster care. So again, like I said, we've got some work to do. Now, with impact services in place, what does that look like? Like I said, we take care of a lot of the financial barriers, but that's not the root of what needs to happen. Our youth need people. We need volunteers. They need our staff. They need the people in the leasing office. They need people at Virginia Western. They need local business owners that are willing to engage, interact, give them a chance, and give them and teach into some of the skills that they have not learned, that they have not had somebody to teach as they grew up. With impact living services in place, the statistics look a little bit better. It's a pretty low bar given what I just said earlier. But 87% have their high school diploma or a GED, up from 73. 81% are employed at discharge. If we talk about just employment during their time with us, it's almost 95%. 90% of those youth have a savings account, have a bank account at a traditional bank, not an online Chime, some other app that isn't as reliable. And 40% have had some level of experience with higher education. Most of those youth have gone to Virginia Western. So, again, when we talk about foster care and aging out, our youth have experienced significant trauma. They've had upwards of 15 to 20 placements in their lifetimes, multiple shifts in homes, multiple different foster placements, group homes, residentials, you name it. Runaway, AWOL, living on the streets. If you can dream it, they've experienced it. So again, when we talk about aging out and what impact does, what that looks like is facilitating growth, facilitating stability, giving them a place to land that is stable and consistent, that allows for them to learn, how do I go get a job? How do I sustain a job? How do I not get on my cell phone on the second shift at McDonald's and get fired? How do I go to the community college? Where is the financial aid office? How do I ask somebody for help? We do all of these things with those youth. Impact is in place so that instead of telling a youth that is uncertain and anxious and unaware of what is available to them, instead of telling that youth to go do that thing, which we then know they will not do because they do not know how and they don't have all of the resources to do it, we take them by the hand and we go do that with them. I can't tell you how many times I've sat in the financial aid office at Virginia Western. There are some lovely staff that are there that work very hard and very diligently with our youth and across the board, but we sit there with them. We navigate that process. Then we start talking about enrollment and what does it look like to get an associate's degree. We help them navigate and registering for their first semester worth of classes, so that then hopefully the next semester they can take that up and do that on their own. Most of the time it's a couple semesters before they're ready to take it off and do it on their own. But those are some of the things that we are doing. We are a nonprofit. Some of the strategies that we have implemented in order to take care of and ensure that we can continue to do this service and work with these youth is to build our own properties. In 2023, we spent over $800,000 in rent alone, just in apartments for our youth. So instead, we determined a much better strategy would be to build our own, utilize that space. We now have 6 new duplexes in the Vinton community, right across from W. Cundiff Elementary, that is able to house up to 22 youth. Currently, we have almost 16 that are over there that are doing well, that are thriving, and all of that has been due to generous donations, generous fundraising, generous foundations that have been willing to sponsor and invest back into this population. So again, that's a lot of what Impact is doing, and that's the approach that we take. I explained to James, I like doing presentations like this, but I know that the majority of this information is going to has a lot of questions associated with it. So I like to try and save extra time for questions, because I could ramble about this for 3 hours and there would still be plenty to talk about. So instead, I'm going to turn it over and answer as many questions as anybody might have. Yes, sir. So the annual budget was the question, and what are the sources of income and revenue? Our annual budget, or what the revenue last year was, I want to say 12 million total. The sources of that, we work hand in hand with all of the local DSS agencies across the state. We are contracted with, I want to say 78 different counties and cities across the state. So we work hand in hand with them. We receive funding for each of our youth that we work with through the Department of Social Services and through the Child Services Act, which is all funded through local government. Sure. Yes, sir. Yeah, question was, is this statewide or local? So we operate across the state. We do have an office here located in Roanoke. So actually right on the boundary of Roanoke City in the Bonsack area. So technically we fall into the city, but we operate statewide. We are located in Roanoke, Lynchburg, Richmond, Harrisonburg, Fairfax, Fredericksburg, Virginia Beach. So we serve everywhere, and again, hopefully soon to come, far southwest. Yes, ma'am. and the Vinton properties, is there a time frame for when they have to transition out and find their own housing? Yes, our program technically ends at age 21. So we give them essentially a 3-year buffer between turning 18 when they could be homeless or on their own, and when they ultimately no longer have access to any government assistance or assistance from programs like ours. So from the day that they arrive in our program, we start talking about what it looks like after impact, what their own apartment looks like, what their own savings looks like. We do not keep all of our kids for 3 years. Our youth have the ability to transition out at any time. We've had youth that have stayed for 3 days, but we have had youth that have stayed for all 4 years that came to us right on their 17th birthday. But a heavy part of that conversation is housing. So can you afford an apartment? Do you need a roommate? Can you buy a home? We've had multiple youth that have bought their own home because they are working, they are saving, they are doing all of the things, and they have no financial responsibility because those things are being taken care of for them. So we've had multiple youth that have saved and left us with $20,000 to $30,000 that have bought their own home, transitioned there. There are different possibilities when you're given a service and you're given the care that you need to be stable and take those next steps. Yes, sir. Yes. So the question was, is our program involved in assisting with mental health care and health services? All of our youth, because they are in foster care, they are eligible and currently on Medicaid, and they are able to receive that until their 26th birthday, I believe, is the new expansion, which provides them a full range and full gamut of available services. Anthem Healthcare is actually now the primary or singular source of Medicaid assistance for youth in foster care in Virginia, which has been phenomenal. They are able to then provide extra services with their care coordinators. Our youth are able to connect with those care coordinators to find doctors, dentists, psychiatrists, you name it, the full run, and they're able to get those services much, much faster than if they were trying to navigate them on their own. It does also cover the majority of mental health services, to include counseling, psychiatry, and other programs in that realm. But we also do, Impact also does expand beyond that. So if there is a need beyond, we tend to cover the cost associated with those services. Yes, sir. Are all youth graduating from foster care enrolled in the program? Was that the question? No. So again, 500 youth are aging out annually in Virginia. Currently, Impact Living Services, as one organization providing the service, serves 115, but that is from anywhere from 17 to 21. There are other organizations that provide similar service in the same realm, but we are nowhere near serving all 500 that are aging out each year. Yes. What types of jobs are they being trained for and eligible for? That's a great question. Any and all. We really do try to urge all of our youth to attend or go through the community college system to either secure an associate's degree, to secure some kind of certification, but they also seek out like certified nursing assistant programs. We do welders, we've had contractors, we've had carpenters. We've had many that have done the fast food run and learned really quickly how unsustainable that is, and then gone back to the community college system to secure something else that would be more beneficial to them long term. Yes, sir. Yes, so are many of these youth eligible and able to pursue a military career is the question. Unfortunately, some of the mental health challenges do preclude them from military service. A lot of the psychiatric medications that they've been prescribed can preclude them or become a barrier to them. However, we have established some really solid relationships with recruiters that have allowed and presented an opportunity for us to navigate the process to hurdle that, essentially, to work with a psychiatrist to either wean or cancel or, prescribe something else that would then allow them and to pursue that as a career option. Of course. Yes, sir. Absolutely. The question was, do we have a website where everybody can join to go and look at donating? I've got some handouts up here that do have a QR code that will link you to the website, and it does have a donate option. I do want to be clear, the financial support is tremendous. If you do have an interest in learning more about and engaging with, mentoring, talking to, hosting a youth, that is always incredibly welcomed as well. Yeah, so the question was, is the goal to build more properties to housing, to provide housing to our youth? The answer is always yes. So currently we own roughly 25% of the housing that we need in order to house all 110 to 20 youth that we serve annually. We would love to expand that. We would love to, currently we only own property in Harrisonburg, Roanoke, and Lynchburg, and we would love to expand that either in those areas or beyond across the state. Sure. Yeah. Yeah. So the question was, is how easy is it to work with and train and prepare these youth to work in the larger society and to maintain and hold a job? I would love to say that we're really good at it. It is a ever evolving challenge. Like I said, one of the things that we encounter a lot is, how do you leave your phone in the car so you are not on your phone while you are at work? How do you not lose your temper with your supervisor? How do you not engage in any of the activities that you should not be engaging in at work that will absolutely get you fired? We call them soft skills, and they are ever changing. We work diligently with that. I like to call it the process of failure. Our youth are scared to fail. So instead they avoid anything. And instead what we have tried to do is, okay, you got fired after 2 days. That's okay. Now let's find the next job. Can we keep it for 2 weeks? And the next one, can we keep it for a month? We learn as we go and we build on that foundation. In the beginning, it does not look great. Hopefully by the time they leave us, they are more and better prepared for the world. Yes, sir. So how did the youth come to us was the question. Again, it's our relationship with the Department of Social Services. They have a social worker. The social worker reaches out to us and says, John Doe needs your help and would be a good candidate. We interview, we meet with them, we share about our program, and then we make a decision to either allow and bring them in or say, you're not quite ready for this yet. I think that might be time. Is there one more question? Yes, sir. So the youth that are working, are they required to pay a portion of the rent? No, we want them to put that money into savings. Impact actually matches a portion of their savings upon discharge. So if they save $1,500 when they leave, we match that. If they save $3,000 for a vehicle, we will match that. So we offer other incentives for them to save. We do manage and monitor their savings to ensure that when they do leave us, they are not leaving us without a cushion. Thank you very much. I appreciate the time.
Thank you, Wesley. I feel like we've definitely been enlightened today over something that we were not aware of. And it warms my heart to think that there are people like Wesley trying to help people who have a tendency to fall in a dark place before they find themselves. So we're so grateful for your organization. And with that, his honorarium goes to Impact Living.
Thank you very much.
Thank you again. All right, next week, we get James Matthews again. With Natalie and Phil Ford, living a continuum of care. So with that, we are adjourned. Thanks.